There has not been anybody in this whole politics in Africa. Only two people have walked on the streets to follow people to where they are going. Nkrumah and my mother. What are you talking about?
When Fela Kuti died on August 2nd, 1997, more than 1 million people attended his funeral. This is more people than have ever attended the funeral of any Nigerian president or any public figure for that matter. Anyway, Fela was a president in his own right, the people's president. Get ready to meet a musical hurricane, a revolutionary who made the world dance, a man who made the whole federal government shiver. He was fearless, outrageous, and his music changed Africa forever. This is the story of Fela Anikulapo Kuti, the king of Afrobeat. Fela was born in 1938 in Abeokuta, Nigeria, into a family of strong political and musical influence. His mother, Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, was a feminist activist. She was part of the main leaders who fought for Nigeria's independence, and his father, Israel Oladotun Ransome Kuti, was a prominent clergyman and educator. Growing up in such a politically charged atmosphere, it's no surprise that Fela would later use his music to challenge authority and societal norms. In 1958, Fela was sent to London to study medicine, but London in the 1950s was swinging and Fela traded his stethoscope for a trumpet. Of course, this did not go down well with his family. To abandon medicine for music was a taboo no African parent will accept. After many arguments and quarrels, the parents gave up. While at Trinity, Fela studied classical music and developed an awareness of American jazz. By 1963, Fela formed his first band, Kola Lobitos. His true musical awakening happened when he visited the United States in 1969 and was introduced to Black Power movement. Inspired by the works of Malcolm X and Angela Davis, Fela developed a new genre of music, the Afrobeat, a fusion of jazz, funk, highlife, and traditional Yoruba music. But Afrobeat was not just about the rhythms and the melodies. It was a political tool. Fela's songs were fiery anthems that criticized military dictatorship and corrupt government. His music was his protest, his voice against oppression. The revolutionary Fela was being shaped. With a heart passionate about justice and his music as his tool, Fela shook the foundation of Nigeria's political landscape.
The whole idea about your environment must be represented in the music, in the arts. So really, art is what is happening at a particular time of a people's development or underdevelopment, see.
In the early 1970s, Fela declared his compound an independent state free from Nigeria's government's authority. He named it Kalakuta Republic. The name Kalakuta was derived from the infamous cell Calcutta, where Fela had once been detained, symbolizing his resistance against this oppressive government. The Kalakuta Republic was not just Fela's residence, it was a vibrant community, a shared living space for his band members, their families, and other associates. It housed a recording studio where the rhythms of Afrobeat were born and nurtured. This unique commune also hosted the Shrine, a nightclub that became the epicenter of Afrobeat music and a hub for political discourse. It was here that Fela performed regularly, sharing his music and his bold political messages with his audience. He preached Pan-Africanism, rallied against corruption, and wasn't afraid to name names.
There are many dangerous people in Africa. The president of Nigeria is dangerous. Shagari is dangerous. As a person himself, he's weak. But his surroundings, his administration is dangerous.
But you see, Kalakuta Republic represented a microcosm of Fela's ideal society, a place where art flourished, where voices were free, and where the oppressive rule of military regime were defied. And unfortunately, it is here that his troubles with the government will begin. The first major trouble in Fela's music career came in 1974. Fela released the album Alabon Close, which contained a title track that was a fierce critique of Nigerian police brutality and corruption. The song was named after the notorious Alabon Close police station in Lagos. Following the release of Alabon Close, Fela and his band were frequently harassed, arrested by the police, marking the beginning of a long tumultuous relationship with the Nigerian government. In 1976, Fela released the song Zombie. In this iconic song, Fela likened the Nigerian soldiers to mindless zombies following orders without thinking. This audacious hit ignited a severe backlash from the military regime. The military regime was furious. The retaliation was swift and brutal. About 1,000 soldiers stormed Fela's compound and destroyed everything. They razed it to the ground, destroying the studio, instruments, and records.
Started beating everybody, throwing tear gas. They rushed all of us inside the house, beating us. Later they left, they beat Fela, they stole all our things. They stole all our money. Look all our property as it is. We don't know what happened. We didn't even know what offense Fela has made yet now, because they just came, beating everybody up, and this is what they've been doing.
Fela was severely beaten, and his 78-year-old mother was thrown from a window, leading to injuries that eventually claimed her life. In a defiant act of protest, Fela decided to make a powerful statement. He placed his mother's body in a coffin and, braving the threats of gunfire, drove nearly 20 kilometers to Dodan Barracks in Lagos, the seat of power of the military regime led by Olusegun Obasanjo. Even now, I can imagine the scene. Fela, grief-stricken yet resolute, delivering the coffin to the gates of the barracks, a silent but potent accusation against the government for the death of his mother. This audacious act was met with further violence as Fela was beaten by the soldiers for his efforts. But Fela's protest didn't end there. He immortalized the event in his song, Coffin for the Head of State, a scathing indictment of the government's action. Rather than slow him down, all the persecution by the government seemed to fuel Fela's passion. It seemed that Fela and the government had reached an agreement. They would keep criticizing them and they would keep persecuting him. Arrested over 200 times, he spent various periods in jails on different charges that were trumped up to silence him. In 1984, after criticizing the government for money laundering, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison on dubious currency smuggling charges. It took a change in government for Fela to be released in 1986. Through all these trials and tribulations, Fela remained undeterred. His music continued to resonate with the struggle of the common people, giving them a voice, inspiring them to question and to challenge authority. After returning from the 1978 Berlin Jazz Festival, Fela made a shocking announcement. He declared his intention to run for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He registered his own political party, the Movement of the People's Party, symbolizing his commitment to the cause. However, his dreams of political leadership were thwarted. The authorities refused to accept his candidature, denying him the opportunity to run for president. But this setback didn't dampen Fela's spirit. He continued to use his music as a platform to criticize the government and advocate for the rights of the people. His final years were marked by continued defiance, personal transformation, and a tragic end. In 1978, in a move that shocked many, Fela married 27 women in a single ceremony. These women were dancers, composers, and singers from his band. This mass marriage was not just a personal decision, but also a political statement. It served to protect Fela and his wives from false claims by the authorities that he was kidnapping women. As the years passed, Fela's health began to decline. He had been living in denial about his health condition for a long time. On August 2, 1997, Fela Anikulapo Kuti passed away due to complications from AIDS. Despite the stigma associated with the cause of his death, the people of Nigeria came out in droves to bid farewell to their beloved hero. On August 11, 1997, Fela's children insisted on a public lying in state despite the extended family's initial wish for a quiet affair. The result was a spectacle that mirrored the larger-than-life person of Fela himself. The funeral procession, known as Trek 97, was a once-in-a-lifetime event. An estimated 1 million people moved en masse with their hero to his final resting place at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Lagos Island. The sheer number of people who turned up to pay their respect was a testament to Fela's influence and the love the people had for him. It was a phenomenon unlikely to happen again, just like there will never be another Fela Anikulapo Kuti. Fela's influence can be seen in the work of many contemporary artists today. Artists like Burna Boy and Lady Donny have cited him as major inspiration, and his music continues to resonate with the audiences around the world. Fela's legacy also lives on through his children, who have carried on his music and political work. His son Fela Kuti is a renowned musician in his own right, and his daughter Yemi has been instrumental in preserving and celebrating Fela's legacy through the annual Celebration Festival. Fela Kuti once said, "Music is a weapon of the future. Music is a weapon of the progressive. Music is the weapon of the givers of life." And indeed, he wielded music like a weapon, challenging systems and changing the world. As we conclude through the life and legacy of Fela Kuti, it's only fitting that we dive into some of his music, a collection of music that continues to resonate with music lovers all around the world. One of Fela's most seminal work is Zombie, which we have talked about earlier in this video. Expensive is another iconic album. The title track was inspired by a real-life incident where the authorities tried to frame Fela by planting a joint on him. Fela outsmarted them by swallowing the joint, resulting in a cat and mouse game that led to the police waiting for him to produce the evidence in his excrement. Then we have Sorrows, Tears, and Blood, a chilling reflection of the suffering and oppression of the Nigerian people under military rule. And who can forget Ruffle Ruffle Fight? The album marked a turning point in Fela's musical style, introducing a harder, funkier sound that defined his later work. The title track is a critique of the dirty, mudslinging nature of politics. And finally, we have ITT, International Thief Thief, a direct attack on the multinational companies and corrupt politicians in Nigeria. This song was a big indictment of corporate greed and political corruption. His songs continue to enjoy widespread playtime on radios and festivals. As we come to an end, I want to ask you, which of Fela's songs is your favorite? Tell us in the comment box. Until I see you again, go ahead and be inspired by the life of this great man.